Hi, I'm Rigger. This is Your Right. That was certainly something, wasn't it? Alright. Well, for those of you who don't know, this is a thoughts video, which means that I go back through the show having already just watched it, and I use still reference frames to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, so you need to be familiar with the episode, but if you are, then I hope you enjoy. Before we start, be sure to like the video if you like it, share the video if you think others would like it, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. And I'm going to use this start here real quick to say you should check out my last video. I just started my brand new RWBY project. It's a writing project I'm going to work on episode by episode. It's a what if series where we do runs through the plot. It's called RWBY runs, and we apply new conditions, new what if scenarios. And the first one we're doing is what if Jean died instead of Pyrrha. So check out the first episode of that. There will be more coming. I'm not going to direct you away from the video right now that you're trying to watch, so it'll be in the end cards of this, so just feel free to click over there when you're done. But now let's talk about the episode. So we got something very different than I think a lot of people would be expecting, but yeah, it certainly changes the outlook for the end of the volume. But there's no better place to start from the beginning, so we'll do that, and we'll talk about it as we go. So, kicking things off. This is at least the second episode in a row where we started off, like, mid-things flying. Interesting, they bring this up again. That happens all the time, where Grimm just don't attack the important ships. Usually it was covered by, like, Ren's hiding this one or whatever, but it's not the case here. At least not visually. It's not grayed out like usual, and I don't think Emerald is using her semblance on every single Grimm that approaches to make them invisible to them, especially since she's going to be using it in a second anyway, so, But, it's fine. It's just one of those things that's always come up in RWBY. I gave it a pass when it's, like, bad guys, because, like, maybe just, oh, it doesn't matter. Ironwood's double gun is ridiculous. This is so silly. So it uses the two pistols to fuel one big blast that's achieved by firing both at the same time, and it's channeled somehow? What? And is this a reference to something? Am I missing something? Is it like an anime reference that I don't get? Because that's silly looking. Although I will say, this episode continues the grand tradition of so much Star Wars feel. Not this gun, but the way it's aimed at like this reminds me of the doorbuster cannon thing from Last Jedi. And the shots of the team standing around in their cockpit and some of the doors opening on the hangars and stuff. Very Star Wars feel, continuing. And the music as well, especially on this opening scene, very Imperial. I'm sort of struggling to think about how I'm going to talk about this episode. I guess we'll just continue going through it straight for now, but yeah, there's going to be stuff to talk about, I think. So we have this setup where Ironwood and the Aesops are waiting for Penny. They're expecting trouble because, RWBY and them are coming, and they told them not to coming, but they're sure they will. And we have the Atlesian Knights, loading the bomb, and they start getting taken out by gunshots. So they very quickly build the feel that there's things going on, like a plan's being put in motion that will be revealed to us, which is exactly what this whole episode is. It's seeing the results of a plan and then backtracking and showing us. I think it's interesting here that Harriet says that if the kids come with them, we put them down immediately. Now, take them down means arrest, put them down means you kill them. Harriet's like, yep, if the kids come, we're going to murder them on the spot. Not even, if they get taken down to the point we could be arrested, now we kill them. That is the tone. Harriet is just so off the deep end. It also reminds me, she looks like, the classic school bully thing, where the bully is, like, short but has two henchmen that, like, stand behind them and is taller? That thing? Feels like that. And again, we have this very last second touches on the Aesop's, like, feelings about this. Vine, for the first time ever, slightly cracks, and I was just thinking about what led us here, and, we get a meaningful off-to-the-side look from Elm, and it's just like, I don't know, this feels too late, and I know that people are going to be for it, because, I want good guys, but even Mara, it took a long time, it took a lot. Say martial law all you want, but shooting Councilman Sleet in the head in episode 1 was pretty far. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that we're gonna get something from them in the end, but the end of this whole episode really changes how some of this might play out. So I'm not even sure how much I should read into this right now. So again, immediately watching this, here's your next subtle hint that, well, subtle, it's not subtle. Here's your next hint that things aren't as they appear, but it also feels weird because, okay, you have Winter walking up and saying, you know, I'll stay with the general, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do. And, you know, from last episode where she saved Marrow's life, very obviously saved Marrow's life to the audience, and was totally not cool with this. You're like, okay, why is she back on side? Obviously she wouldn't be, so that's, you know, they're doing something. But also, it feels weird because Ironwood's trusting her so much. I know that, you know, she took down Marrow last time, you know, he would think she's on his side, but he wouldn't. Like, she totally let the others go and got tattled on by Harriet, and he gave her the mean eyes and took his hand off her shoulder, but the next episode he's just walking chum with her down the corridors, and then she does one thing that he construed as being on his side, and no more questions. Just, that felt weird. I do appreciate what they were going for. You can feel what they were going for, but it just didn't click, especially with the Winter stuff for me. Not that I don't buy she would do what she's doing, I just feel it's weird Ironwood got trapped so easily like this. But we'll keep going. So, to me, and I could be wrong, this feels like Winter's last chance for Ironwood here. Not that he should get any more, but this was her being like, this course of action, I hope you're not going to try and talk me out of it. No. And she sort of sets, like, okay, we're committing. That's my read on it anyway, is she wanted a one-on-one appeal to him, no one around, no subordinates, no people to impress, and just ask. But clearly he's set on what he's going to do, so I think that's a nice little touch. It feels real from two people who've known each other for a long time, and I guess that could be some of the reasoning why Ironwood trusted her so easily again, but I do feel like that was Winter giving a personal little test, like I need to see what he actually says just to me. You know, from this angle the gun is even more confusing, because now it doesn't look like, it looks like it charges, but there's no way to tell it to charge because he's not pressing anything. He's keeping his finger off the trigger, which would imply it does fire when he pulls the triggers. This is strange. I get it's all lit up, like there's blue, I guess that's showing it's charging, but how is he... This gun makes no sense. But I want to bring it up because it's a bit of a... Chekhov's gun is the wrong term. Chekhov's gun, if you don't know, is if you show a gun in the first act, it's going to be fired by the last act. You're going to use it. You don't bring up a weapon and not use it. So, despite what happens in this scene, I feel like we have to see this thing used at some point. So I'll be interested to see what that looks like. You can't assemble an episode and be like, we're going to introduce this new big gun. It's going to be in screen for like multiple close-ups, and it's going to be the thing Ironwood threatens people with, and then it gets taken off him and we'll never see it again. So expect this to come back by the end of the volume, somehow. But weirdly, this feels like a convenient thing they set up so that Ironwood would have his hands full, meaning that it makes it easier for Winter to be the one to go up and cuff quote-unquote Penny. Not like it was Winter's plan, but I mean like the show like writers when they sat down and be like, alright, so what stops Ironwood being the one to walk up and cuff Penny and ruining this illusion? He put something big in his hands. Well, he has two guns, why would he have them both out? Well, if we put them together in like a big gun contraption that he brought in case Penny goes haywire, because he needs something to fight the Winter Maiden. Perfect, do that. Then no one will question why it wasn't Ironwood that walked up. Because, see, even in this, for some reason, it's Ironwood that hands the cuffs, the bindings, to Winter. So she didn't even have her own set. He has to unhand the gun and hand them to Winter to you go do it. So it just feels like it was a setup for that, which, I know, it's a weird thing to think about, but just watching it back through, that came to mind. I've commented before on the weirdness of everyone touching Penny's hands all the time when they talk to her. It's one of my earlier videos for the thoughts thing. But it's true, it is a weird thing that keeps happening, but I do like they brought it back here for like, okay, we're going to show Winter touch her arms and pull her hands together and, you know, put the bindings on so that, you know, it's totally non-illusion because, you know, that would be a lot to hide. That, you know, she doesn't feel like metal, she doesn't move right. And, of course, it's a setup the whole time. It's a good setup, keeps the setup running a little bit longer because she's in on it, she's not going to give it away. So that's cool. I know that for reactors and stuff, this is going to be the moment that they want everyone to go, oh, just jump out. Although a lot of people are expecting it after getting Emerald on side, but having Emerald's voice come out of Penny so unnaturally like that, really cool. But I do like her line. It is very funny. You've done the right thing. I have. Feels weird. And for once, okay, it's not perfect, but I was like, okay, Emerald had to hide a lot here. She only really had to hide it from Ironwood and maybe from Winter to try and help her with the illusion. That might help, like that's a thing you might do. But, so that it's easier for her to play along, because it'd be a lot harder if she was staring at Emerald the whole time. But it is an interesting cover that when Penny came in and flew around, it's a good cover for the ship to come in and fly around, because even though Emerald can hide some of that input, it's going to move things, there's lots of variables, especially with the flying, so assuming the ship can fly somewhat as the speed of Penny, then Emerald has to just block out how it looks and sounds, which is a lot easier, but she doesn't also have to factor in everything moving on all the people, clothes and hair, because hopefully people will pass it off as, oh, it's the air moving from when Penny came in. So that's a decent detail, I like that. People are still going to call BS on it, but that's okay. It was a decent enough cover for me where I backtracked in my head and I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. And I like that if we are doing this, fake Penny switch, at least we're doing it very early, like within the first couple minutes, so that we don't have to buy, the less we have to buy, that the longer it went on, the better. Because the problem with illusions is it doesn't matter how you look and sound if you don't act right, so the less acting that Emerald had to do to be Penny, who is someone who she doesn't really know, and, has the weirdness of being robotic and all of that, trying to sell that acting for too long would be harder for us to buy that she was managing it. So at least we got it done quick. So I'm a fan of that. Intense rock music. Gotta love the subtitle. But nice kick. Did someone watch the Daredevil movie, the first one? Because that's what I get the vibe when he does the standing backflip kick when he's a little kid. Although it's actually sold better here because she moves more realistic for that. Although I would have gone for the gun myself. Although I guess he has it in iron hands, metal hands, so maybe go for the head, I guess. They do go for the head a lot in this, which you can call smart, I guess. Inside info, his body's mostly metal, both his arms are metal, so go for the head. And he does drop the gun, which I guess is just convenient, and Emerald catches it and vanishes, which is nice. Which is how, you can be sure she wasn't using a semblance much, because she had to save it for this, so, yeah. On the flight over, she wouldn't be using it on random Grim when she has to save it for something this important. And now we start intercutting the fight scenes, but, okay. Don't take this the wrong way. I feel like they definitely went for style over substance for these fights. They wanted to quick cut in and out and show as little fighting as possible, kind of. Still haven't seen Robin in a really good fight yet. Crow is just doing spinnies in the background, just whirling stuff around, and Robin's just shooting stuff. So pretty basic on their side, and then the rest of their fight gets cut off. So, well, you got to give it to Jean. He didn't land a hit, but he did get a good block. His dust in the shield is definitely paying off. Because, he kept Ironwood at bay with the sword, but then immediately got caught, so still not that great. But then Ironwood just punched the shield and got blasted for it, so that's pretty cool. I know that they're trying to show how hard it is to take down Ironwood, but it does feel like, okay, everyone take a turn on him one at a time, whereas if we all swamped him, he couldn't beat us. Which, as always, is the old action movie issue, 20 bad guys run the room, martial arts movie, so attack him one at a time, so he can beat you all up. But I guess it kind of works, because Ironwood is meant to be high level here. But this is the crowning jewel, this teamwork bit here. A lot of it isn't super teamworky, it was just passing from one person to another, but this setup is great. Having Winter elevate Nora so she can charge up and deliver a almighty swing. Just straight to the face. And I will take it back a bit. When I mean style over substance, I mean, there is a fair bit of intricacy on some of these fights that Ironwood has one-on-one with people, his exchanges with Oscar and Ren get a bit complicated, but mostly it's, setting up for big swings like this, and the other fight just gets completely cut short. It's just killing robots, which no one really cares about seeing, and then we'll get to it in a second. Or actually immediately as I hit play and we get the stay, which we were expecting, although again, it would have been, everyone's been waiting for Harriet definitely is going to get beat up by Robin or someone, someone needs to kick Harriet, really hard, but yeah, it hasn't happened yet, and we're avoiding it happening still. It's also a rarity that Mara opens with stay. The one thing he should have done every single fight, and he only does it once he joins the good guys, because that's good guy tactics. It's not, it's bad guy tactics. You open with the strongest move. Playing fair is good guy's move. And again, we do show how powerful Ironwood is here by catching a manticore. Okay, interesting choice. I do like that it's not random, we have seen it before, because Winter wrote it last volume, so that's cool. I don't know why he picks it up by the horn and throws it, but it has big Yang energy when she did something similar when she spun that one by the horns, so that's an interesting choice. I do like that we have to occupy his hands, right? So get him fighting the Manticore and then we can attack him, but you had a lot of people, you could have also, this is the ganging up thing again, but yeah, this works for now. It is a cool visual. It's nice to see it. It really stands out color-wise against the palette, so that's really cool. Which again, with a background like that, you can't not call Cloud City on this too. So yeah. It turns out that Weiss really needs to take lessons from Winter, which I know would make Winter happy to hear, because she actually hits people when she flings ice out of glyphs. So, you know, Weiss is shooting a lot of ice out of glyphs this volume, but she didn't hit anything. So, yeah. The way that they use Winter's powers here, I think is a perfect example of where Weiss has been squandered. This is what Weiss should be for the team, and it's what she was set up to be from the beginning, like, back in, like, the first Chapter 8, like, you know, back in the forest when we, you know, took down the, Nevermore, the first big thing in RWBY that everyone was like, whoa. That's what she was doing. She was assisting and, you know, using glyphs to shoot people and do stuff. And here we see Winter doing that. You know, she got Nora up out of harm's way and out of line of sight so she could charge and deliver a huge blow. And then she helps Oscar here, you know, bounce off a glyph in midair so he can keep attacking. And she distracts Ironwood and gets some shots in with the Manticore and the ice while the others beat on him. Like, this is how Weiss should be used in combat more with the RWBY girls. Because their semblances are exactly the same, it's a perfect example of what they need to do. And you might say, well, she's working towards that, like, you know, she'll get there one day. But really, this is what I'd like to see them trying more. Even if it fails, like, show her trying and failing to do this, and then get better at it, rather than doing other things and just not really getting anywhere with it, and then one day she'll just be able to do it like this. So I really hope that if we're using this fight scene to learn anything, this is how we should start trying to use Weiss more. Right now she's being perfect, she's being a support mage, it's what she's built to do. Rather than having your summons there to try and fight the bad guy for you, you have them there to distract, but you get them summoned so they engage and do other things while they're doing stuff, you know? So, yeah. So here, very interestingly, we have them purposely having Oscar use Oz's move. Or maybe it's Oz doing it, I don't know. But they're doing the move, the breaking time move, you know, moving faster than time. Or, you know, moving faster than they should be able to, like literally as if they have multiple limbs doing the hits, which is not what he did to Hazel, it's what he did to Cinder. They're purposely using that time effect, and everyone was like, well, we thought the Kane stored time, and again, there's been so much clock imagery around Oz, and I was under the impression for a while that maybe the time thing was that Ozpin's body's semblance. I am wondering though if this is actually just Oscar or Oz tapping into some magic, although it seems like an odd place to use magic. I know this is an important fight, but he wasn't on the ropes or anything, and they were talking about how they weren't willing to use a lot of magic, so it's going to be interesting how they cover, moving forward, what they choose to explain this as. Because I did like the idea of it being Ozpin's semblance, so those clocks and things were relevant to that body, but it wasn't, you know, something to do with Oz in his head. But if we're doing it here, it would imply that it's magic, because it's not the Kane, and we don't know Oscar's semblance yet, and it would be weird if his semblance was the same thing. That would be very lame and weird. Yeah, like-minded souls all you want, and, you know, the semblances come from the soul, but I don't think they should be the same. It was actually a cool, unique thing that Oz would have to get used to a new semblance every time he took a new body, so I don't know. Just an interesting note, I wonder where they'll go with it. But this was the weirdest choice ever. I don't understand this at all. I've watched this back in slow-mo, and she doesn't do anything special. It says lightning energy strike, but she doesn't have dust in her swords, or never has before. And the sound effects were like arcade lasers, like laser blasts, or again, like a Star Wars laser blasty sound, like doop doop doop. And they gave off a metal ching sound, but it seemed like the thing shining was part of his outfit. And she has her saber in two hands and then swings it wide, like follow through with one. So she's left with her hand out like she did something with her hand, but she didn't. I have no idea what they were implying with that. Because also, it's not like something we've seen her do before. It's not like some cool thing that she broke out earlier, and she was in a fight to the death with Cinder and didn't try whatever this was, so I don't know. It's very strange. It's an odd effect. The sound effects were very strange, and I still don't even know what she actually did. It just looked like she hit him really hard with a sword. But the subtitles disagree with me, so I don't know. But moving on, it breaks his aura and he goes down. So now we cut back to here. Sorry guys, we don't want to fight. We do. I want to see the fight. But, and this is a good arena for it, but it doesn't happen. And I just want to say that there's been lots of talk about Mara's use of stay, like why he doesn't like to do it, or why he doesn't do it much, or he can't do it for very long. He holds this for a long time while they chat. Although, here's where you start getting the weird details, like, we didn't want to drop Atlas either. Oh, we're dropping Atlas, okay. Which we are. So, interesting note. And then we cut back and say, go move to phase 2. So, yeah, as you could assume from everyone's actions, that they're all in on. They all have organized a plan, which, you know, luckily, there's phones. So, phones do make plots nice sometimes, and really difficult other times, but makes sense, and we'll cover that now. Now's the heist flashback. Now's the bit where, you know, it's like the ending of Ocean's 11, where you think you know what's going on, and you're sort of following with the heist, and then they backtrack and show, oh, you missed this other thing they did the whole time, blah, 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 blah. This is what you didn't see. So, now we cut back to the conversation they were having, and they're like, oh, we hadn't considered going to the vault. Maybe we could think about it, and maybe we can use the staff. Now, lots of people have been talking about using the staff, but this is where it feels a little out of line, because after this scene, we're going to go and hear some more about what the staff can do. But at this point, it's just been labeled as, it makes things, it creates things, but it can only do one. And that's really the only info we know, but they're talking about it as if they know they can use it for this purpose, and we won't really find out the details of it until later. So, it feels like the people have read ahead in the script here, a little bit. So, like, that is a criticism, I guess, on the scripting phase. Like, I could more buy them having this conversation, maybe we could use it for that, maybe we can use it for that, and then look to Oz, can we use it for that? Because they don't know about the staff, and they're about to learn. So, it's just an odd structural thing. I do like that Winter made the first call, though. It's cool that she's doing it, so good on Winter. And yeah, again, phones sometimes make things easy, so that's nice. I felt very strange when we came to this, because Grumpy Winter is very cute, and I like that, but also it felt very cartoony for what's happening here. Their conversation is very cartoony for what just happened in their timeline. There's a bit where Mara says, you know, so you're not arresting me? No. Then why did you hurt me or whatever? And she goes, because you would have gotten killed if I didn't do something. And then he, you know, grumpy hms, and it's like, you almost got shot, dude. Well, okay, weird reactions. And I get he's sort of cartoony, but it felt off on the tone. But it's, like I said, I'm torn because I did like some of Winter's animation. She looks like a kid who got told she couldn't have a cookie, but she's talking about how they need to stop a dictator. Also, I'm not going to harp on it because I don't have a specific criticism, but something about Winter's voice acting, especially for the, you were going to get yourself killed, it seemed off, and I can't place why. So, that's a bad criticism, I guess, because I don't know what the problem is. I almost feel like maybe it's the right effects weren't applied for the room they're in. I don't know. Something about it sounded off, though. Can't put it any better than that, unfortunately. Maybe it was just that it was a little soft-spoken for, like, a very yelly animation. Like, there was no edge in it. That could be it. This also encapsulates what I mean. It's, I get, RWBY is a show with comedy in it. It always should have comedy in it, but the timing of some of these is weird. Like, I didn't like John's weird joke in the middle of the touching, you know, Ren and Nora scene. And now here we've got, you know, Winter coming to her senses and saying she's gonna get in contact with Weiss, you know, do the right thing, and we have this weird animation over the top, you know? There's no need for, you know, a little goofy bloop 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 sound effects to show what he's looking at. Like, we didn't need that. It's not that there shouldn't be comedy, it's just, it's a strange way to do it. It's sandwiched between dramatic fights and heist, and it's just, it doesn't break it up in a good way, is I guess my criticism. So, if it doesn't do that, I don't know why it needs to be there at all. And then, of course, we get the reveal that it was them in the elevator who saw Crow and Robin. I don't know why people were trying to, like, zing that one. They're like, no, it's gonna be Pietro and Maria or something. Like, there's no reason to swerve us on that one. We have other things where you need to, you know, save the swerves for. You got plot going on. There's no need to make it a surprise who's in the elevator. They're just surprised to see each other, and they were heading to the same place. So, well, one's heading from one place to the other place that those people are coming from, so it's logical. So, I don't know why we were expecting a zing there. And I'm now going to walk back on what I said a little bit, because while that line about you get yourself killed was off, her speaking of help was silky smooth. I don't know what it was. That one line was delivered really well. Voice sounded excellent, so, you know, It's not a bad voice acting at all, it's just something was off with that delivery on the one line. But more importantly, yeah, we get our chess pieces moving and who's helping who. So you have Winter, who's going to call the team. We've been with the team, so we know that they get a call. And you have Coat and Rob meeting up with them, so everyone's in on the call. Big group chat to figure out what the plan is. I really like this shot too, everyone around the table. I actually would have liked the phone on the table to have everyone in on this conversation as well, but they probably would have struggled balancing all the lines out. But still, really cool shot. Again, I said it last time, I like reusing these rooms that we know in different ways, so that's really cool. Also, look at that photo on the top right. And why do they just have Bear Mountains on the top left? Like, it's fine, it could be a nice picture, but it's weird that that's what's outside your window, so why do you have a picture of it as well? Like, you live there. So, strange choice. But I do like, yeah, them on the right. It's them in front of one of the factories, it looks like. So it's just them, like, family pose, but look what we own, ha 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 ha. And it's just with Whitley. So here's where I say we have a strange way of dropping little nuggets, because, so when we heard about the, heard about things initially, it was, I thought gravity dust kept Atlas afloat. Public story, the staff does. But they actually do put gravity dust there as well. Now, that's fine, it's actually logical that if it does fall, maybe it'll help, but it's strange that, well, it actually says a natural gravity dust, so they didn't put it there, it just has some in the earth, I guess? That, like, that's where the crater was taken out, was like a gravity dust mine, which the physics of that are just mind-bending. So, we had this nugget in that, oh, it won't drop out of the air immediately. Which is fine in theory, but everyone's had it basically in their mind that it would. So, you've now late introduced that, oh no, we do have a window where we can do this still. So, I don't mind that window's there, it's just weird that it wasn't brought up that it was there before. Like, in any way, shape, or form. Like, the image that you've painted for people is we use the staff, the thing drops out of the sky like a boulder and kills everybody. Now, when it touches down, it will kill a lot of people, if not everyone. Just mass and size alone, displacement, and the impact, both people, like, above and below, you're all gonna die. But it just painted a different picture of how that works. What I'm saying is, because it wasn't brought up before, it feels a little bit get out of jail free to, like, make sure we can just squeeze this plot in, you know. Well, you know, we sort of rewrote ourselves a little bit. I'm not saying that it wasn't planned from the start. I'm saying if it was planned from the start, it would have been nice to touch on it a little bit better than just, oh no, it isn't actually gravity dust. But not address that we put some there or some way, but we just didn't. I just want to say, moving to this next bit, yeah, called it. And if you know my Jin is human theory, I'll also put that in the end cards. That's a crazy theory, but I'm getting points on that card, just saying. This only builds the case for the crazy outline I put in that video, so check that one out. But I do want to say, I do like this explanation of what the staff does. Now we finally get to it, it's cool. That he can build you anything, he can make anything you want, but you have to describe to him how it works. You need a layout, you need blueprints, you need a way for it to make sense, so you can't make impossible things. You can't make concepts, you know? You have to explain to him how it works. It's a thing that other stories have touched on a fair bit. Fate comes to mind when it's like, I want to make world peace. Okay, how? Okay, well this is the method I would apply. Okay, so if I apply that method, this is the result. And when I show you that result, it's horrifying because that's just not how it works. Like, your theory only works with your morality code, and you know, you would have exceptions, but no, if you're applying it like a rule, you're gonna, like, kill everything, you know? Nothing works that way. So, same thing here. You can't walk up to him and say, build this impossible thing. And even if you are walking up and saying, build a thing, you need to explain to him how. But it also allows for a bit of magic, you know? He can do weird things, but if you have real-world examples, if you have things to show him, it will really help, you know? If you say build a room, he can build a room, but if you want him to build a specific room and what that room can do, then you need to tell him and explain it, and if you have an example, show him. Now, another thing I want to address here, because it felt nice, is I made a video about how best to use Whitley for the rest of Volume 8, and obviously they didn't do what I said in there, didn't expect them to, it was just like an idea, but one of the things I had him do was save everyone by knowing the layouts. And, you know, having studied, being, you know, someone where you take over the company, he knows what they have, he knows how they do. And this isn't exactly that, but he did do something similar, where he says he studied all the maps of how everything is laid out, because when he went to do the evacuation, like, he had to learn where everyone was and everything was, so he can help. He can provide some of those real-world examples. So that's really good. I'm glad Whitley came through here. He gets a win by being himself, something his character should do and should know and be good at with everything that he's, talked about being and he's built up to be, and he's applying it to save everyone. So excellent job. Very happy about that. So next I want to say that I do give them credit for using things that we've established. So they're about to use the hole that Oscar made. It makes a lot of sense. It would still be there. There hasn't been time to repair it. How would you even go about repairing it? It would be a massive job. So yeah, and it goes straight up to the vault. We know that, so that's excellent. The only thing I will say, the animation on this transport flying under the city is janky as hell. That's where they skimped this time. And it's fine. We got a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of animation in this episode, especially coming up, that's really great. So I'm not attacking the team. I'm just saying, being fair, that flying close to the camera and pulling back, it looked like I animated it with keyframes. Like, it's on the level of my guy bouncing around the screen, to me. Especially compared to the rest of this episode, which is animated excellently. So that's where the budget went, not this little transitional scene, which I guess makes sense. But also, yeah, we're about to tie in more cool things, like, okay, so there's a hole that goes straight up. Well, we're going to do the RWBY group semblance thing. Excellent. She can group semblance fly them up the hole. It's something that we've established she can do. It's been introduced this volume earlier, and it applies here. So excellent use of pulling things together. I will say, it's really dumb, but I'm a little disappointed with this staircase. Not that it's not cool, it is a weird and cool idea, but for some reason I just thought the gap was there so that only the Maiden could get to the door because they can fly, which I guess makes no sense because it doesn't matter because no one else could open it. I don't know. I just wasn't expecting random assembling staircase, and I don't know how they triggered it, and they didn't trigger it last time. I guess it's just proximity, or maybe that's because the Maiden walked in, like how the floor lit up last time when the Maiden's here, the staircase flies, and that makes sense. It's just it was an odd choice. I will also say, on a design aspect, I really like the way the vault opens and the lines, like the more geometrical square shapes. It fits a more militant sort of Atlas style. Really cool. And we had the big door opening moment. I do like that we're sort of moving past it, but it still gets a little highlight because it is really special and cool. It does make me wonder what the rest of the doors will look like, because they all have like a clockwork thing going for them, which I guess makes sense if Oz made them. But yeah. I actually really like the detail that they had to open the door and RWBY semblance through as fast as she could to get to it, because as soon as Penny touched the door, she had to start self-terminating. So she had to activate the staff's time stop before that happened. And it's really lucky that the staff knew not to include Penny in that, because that's the other thing, is when these staffs do their time freeze, it seems very arbitrary on who is included. Now, it's very possible that RWBY went there with the intent of stopping Penny, so it knew that it didn't want Penny included, like that was part of, activating it. It's just a weird thing, because you might say, well, then how does that apply to Jin? Because first time RWBY used it, she didn't know what would happen, and it included everyone. And then when they used it on the whale, they included someone they didn't know was there, which was Neo. So, how does it pick and choose? It's just interesting. I did also think that it was cool that they went around Atlas to show everyone freezing, but when they went to the scene with the Aesops, I'm like, wait, they're meant to be frozen anyway, so it just seemed like an odd screen to pick. I get that everyone else there was frozen too, but it's just like, yeah, the Aesops aren't moving still. We know that. It just sort of seemed like an odd choice. Trying to highlight that everyone has stopped moving by showing us characters who'd already stopped moving. Oh, and I guess we should talk about this landscape for a second before we get to the guy. I really like it. I'm sure everyone was scrambling to look for the red flowers to be like, it's Team RWBY colors. If you sub Blake in for blue, I guess it's another B word. But yeah, I am glad it wasn't a desert. I'm glad we got a new design, and it has like the stepping stone thing that was sort of like the lead up to the vault in the other one. So yeah, cool. I like these little mini areas. I'm really glad it wasn't a desert again, because it's a nice little reveal to have something just a little special on the inside of each. Okay, so let's talk about the guy. They call him Ambrosius, which, yeah, fine, fair enough. And, I do like we basically completely redid the Jin reveal. He comes out, and we get the same shocked expression on the girls' faces, and, he goes up and does a different stretching pose, but they're very similar in a way, and of all the staring at the big booby woman jokes that have gone around for Jin forever, like, oh, look at the girls looking at the big booby lady, at least they did the same thing here, and it is still meant to just be also wonderment at these otherworldly beings. And I like him. He has an interesting personality, which I find fun. He's creative and cool, and yeah, he's alright. I like him. But let's also get to something immediately very important. That also, well, he floats around like Jin, which is fun, because I guess they get bored, which is fair. But we do immediately quash the ideas of bringing the dead back to life. Immediately. No. He says, I'm going to assume you know it's against the rules for me to bring the dead back, so I'm not even going to cover it. Which is nice, because when you talk about creation, you're like, I've seen so many people being like, what was it, Neo's going to get the staff and bring Roman back? Yeah, no. Immediately, no bringing the dead back. So, that's nice. So this is what I meant earlier when I said I didn't like the cartoony comedy stuff with Marrow, because we got this, and this is fine. This is great. You know, it's not laugh out loud funny, but it's an eccentric character, but he's also a magical being who we don't understand. Like, and he's eccentric, and he's a creative person, and, you know, he pulls things out of hammer space, and he examines things, and he's interested in stuff, and he flies around, and he floats around, and is silly. So, good. He's allowed to be. If anyone's allowed to be, it's this guy. He's, like, yeah, he's a magical spirit. He can do what he wants, so I'm fine with it here, and it helps break up what is a serious tone, but he also doesn't just play around. Like, he covers the legit bits. Like, alright, here's what we need to do. Here's the ramifications, so you understand. Like, he's not just wacky for the sake of being wacky, but he does have a wacky personality, and that's fine for the magic being in the stick. I think one of my favorite things in RWBY's writing, and there's, you know, people have so much problems with it, and, you know, none of it's perfect, nothing is, but one of the things I do like is how they handle some of these crazy, powerful beings and things that are otherworldly. Like, the gods had interesting personalities. I mean, they weren't nice, but they were interesting people. The God of Darkness is one of my favorite characters for, like, a one-off appearance, because his personality is not what you expect him to be, and that's great. Every single person, the first time they see that, it goes, oh, I get what happens. She goes to the God of Darkness, and then he curses her because you don't get anything for free. No. He gave her what she wanted because he was impressed that someone prayed to him, because he's never happened before, so he was just gonna give it to her. That's really interesting. And this guy, he's not an evil genie who, you know, he wants to trick you or screw you. He goes, I'll give you exactly what you want, but don't complain to me when it's not what you want it to do. Like, you know, I will give you the exact thing, but it's up to you to make sure it's the actual thing you want. So, no, don't come crying to me about it. I really like that. He's upfront, and he's open. He explains all the rules, he brings up all the problems, and he doesn't execute, like, the first thing he say. It's like, you said the wrong thing, I'm making that, you got screwed, ha ha ha. And it's like, no, is that what you want? Okay, well, here's the ins and outs of that, you sure? And so we'll get to the plan in a second, but I do like that they brought her schematics, and they're written in enchanting table, so that's fun. I guess that is how you get a penny. You, enchant the robot. Okay, so now we got to address the plan, and he brings it up here. That was curiously worded. Why did you say it that way? And the plan is, we want to make an exact copy of Penny using her robot parts. That's curious. What do you mean using her parts? Like, not a copy of her parts? And she says, no, an exact copy of her without the virus in it would cease to exist the second we made something else, so she would just vanish. We want to make an exact copy of her with the virus in it. So basically just taking her soul out of the robot parts. We assemble all the robot parts together exactly as they are and leave what was left. So basically they're saying they want to pull her soul out and see what's left and take all the robot parts away. But because they have to make something, they're saying make her again, but take all the robot parts out and put them together. But, okay, we'll get to that in a second. So the reason they land on this conclusion is apparently he can't destroy things. It's not allowed. Like, his goal is making things. His job is creating things. He cannot destroy things to create them. He just makes things. So, he is going to just take all the existing parts and rebuild Penny, and that leaves the soul. And, okay, this plan works, but there is the weird issue that it'd be like saying, if I rebuild you without all your body parts and just the soul's left, you're dead because the soul will just evaporate. Like, there's no casing for it. So he sort of, I guess, makes that, but it's interesting because he doesn't make that. He specifically doesn't. She can't be in something he made because it will evaporate. So, like, you know, it'll evaporate when we use the staff again. So he didn't make her human body, it just appeared because her soul was there, and it didn't just vanish and die. So they say that the soul is who she is, you wouldn't be destroying her, and Yang chimes in with the mechanical parts are just extra, and it goes back to that lesson that it's just a part of you, not who you are. The soul is who she is. But he brings it straight up, in a second. He says, a soul without a complete body, what would be left? And RWBY says, I don't know. And it feels really cheap, although she does do something fun, which is, she says to him, I guess you'll just have to get creative. Now I like that. I like that a lot, because you're challenging the embodiment of creation to get creative and solve the problem, because he can't destroy her, because he's not allowed to. So he can't let the soul go, so he has to give something, but he can't make something, so it's an endless cycle loop that means this shouldn't work. But it does work, so interesting. But playing on, I guess, the skill set of the being is an interesting choice, like challenging him, like I guess you'll have to get creative. Saying that to a creative person makes them like just warm and fuzzy all over, I can tell you. So I do buy that might have helped him figure this out, but it still doesn't actually make sense, which I guess, magic, but I don't like waving things off as magic, but there's no other way this works, so whatever. I do love his approach though, that this is very exciting, and very dangerous. I don't know what the results are going to be, just so we're all clear. So, I love his approach, and I love what he says, and I really like that we make these spirits characters, because that's just very fun. But I have to bring it up. Oh no! She's going to be an ogre forever now! Their visual reference for this had to be Shrek. It has to be Fiona's transformation. It is Fiona's transformation, even down to flashing along the body parts. I am 100% serious, it's Fiona's transformation from Shrek, which is a very interesting choice to turn Penny into a real girl. I'll talk about that in a second, when we get a little bit further forward. This feels like an inside joke, or at least a streaming joke, like, hey, you're live and didn't realize it, you know, I was trying to work it out. Did RT do something like this? Was there a Rooster Teeth stream where someone didn't realize they'd turn the stream on early? Because that's what it feels like. Like, I know it's just John being general goofiness, but yeah, it feels like this was a reference to a thing. Okay, now we gotta cover this. Citizens of Mantle and Atlas. What we have to tell you is very important. Atlas is falling, but cut off. Okay. And everyone on Atlas just felt a rumble because they did start to move. There would be widespread panic and screaming and people running for anything that is a vehicle. You would have killed so many people being trampled. It would have been just as bad as the Grimm attacking. They'd be spilling back out onto the streets where there are still Grimm. This would have gone so terribly, not the way they depicted it here. I'm just saying. Like, imagine if you got a call, like everyone's phone went off right now, and it's like, there is a meteor coming to destroy your city. There would just be panic as people tried to clear the streets, and even if there was danger outside, even if there was a war going on outside in wherever you live. Like, God, that would have gone so differently. And considering what's about to happen, I can't imagine that they just play along. It's really weird. But, you know, my point is I don't know why they included that. I guess that's to show them trying, but if they are trying, I don't know why we cut them off there. Like, okay, interesting. And they actually asked the question, what happened? And they went, well, CCT just went down, and including kingdom-wide communication. But they don't explain why. I'm assuming we'll get an explanation. I thought it might be like Neo or someone, like sabotaged the communications, but I don't know why they would do that. Maybe, or Cinder did, I don't know. But, like, I don't know why you would do that. Also, this seems to be the control room where that kind of thing would happen, because it's where you can broadcast to everybody. So, weird choices. The staff holding Atlas up shouldn't have messed with the communication. So, I don't know. It's a very odd choice. I wonder if we'll get an explanation for that. And not just someone did it, but why they did it. And, even better, how they did it? It is a question that, they do bring up, how, but, I can't imagine. I do like that we locked Ironwood in a cell, by the way, but this also sort of conflicts with the plan. They say, when we're done, we'll get both of you to safety, meaning Ironwood and Jacques. And Jacques, you know, thanks Winter, and she says, oh, don't thank me, it was Weiss's decision. So hey, Weiss did the right thing. Jacques is a dick, but, you know, it's the right thing to do. And Ironwood's also a horrible person, but still, shouldn't leave him to die in the rubble. And I do like Salem can have the rubble, who cares? But, yeah, Winter totally would have just let him drop, so that's interesting. I can't say I blame her either, but, we should have our good characters do the good thing, and it is the right thing to do. But considering what's gonna happen, I also don't understand, but we'll see. So, this is the spoiler image you're gonna see all over YouTube and in little clips in, like, the next day, so, yeah. But, it's quite the scene. Interesting that he made her clothes, but that didn't include boots. I guess they just wanted to show she was real. Really good thing they didn't bring her back naked, because baking clothes wasn't in the thing, but, for rating, yeah, we can't do that. And, that's fine. I also think that Penny would be screaming when she wakes up, because she would be feeling things for the first time. Like, she mentions feeling things, but I can't imagine. The overload to the senses would be insane. I like the fact that because the soul wasn't in there anymore and we know she's fine, they really went all out making this robot death horrifying, because Penny has to watch what would have happened to her, and they go full Terminator with it. They said self-terminate, they put in some Terminator references, and yeah, she dies full-on Terminator. Especially in the first Terminator movie, when he's crawling after it. It's that. It's very fun. It is weird seeing a Terminator reference right after a Shrek one, though. Those things did never really go together in my head before. And I know for a fact this is going to be so many people's new profile image on Twitter and stuff, so you're welcome, those people. And it is very sweet. And like I said, so she's getting sensory input for the first time, like outside of sight and sound, like she's getting touch and feel. And we play it really nice, like, the hugs always make you feel this warm, isn't that sweet? But it's like, really you'd be going screaming as you feel like the ground beneath your feet for the first time and realize that's going to be forever. And just temperature and just I can't imagine. I can imagine, like, do you know the scene in The Matrix when he first wakes up and he's covered in thousands of needles to wake his body up, and it's like, why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never really used them before. Like, all those things. Yeah, it just reminds me of that. I get magic, and I'm not saying she should have come back screaming. It would have ruined the moment, but it was one of the things that ran through my head, like, wow, if you actually felt things for the first time, it would be very confronting. But we do get this sweet moment instead. And then she goes and hugs everyone more, yay! And then, yang. Okay, that face. I didn't even try for this pause screen, I just paused it again. It's not even hard to find. Alright. But yeah, I guess we get a nice sweet moment. I mean, we break up this real serious plot with, but yeah, because Penny doing these jokes also works for me, so it's, that's why I said, like, the Mary thing was so unneeded, because the Ambrosius guy, perfect. Penny doing this, fine. So, I do think they landed with these moments. I just think they didn't need it earlier. It was a bit of a waste and a bit pointless. And it stands out to me because of that. Now, the plot is about to progress to the next bit, but I want to talk about the real girling of Penny. I see it mentioned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people are very happy now because she's real girl. But I was always kind of against it happening. Not because I don't like Penny or anything, I do like Penny, but I always liked the message that she was a real girl without having to become flesh. I know it's a Pinocchio thing, but it was always like, no, she is still real. Like, we didn't have to. It feels very literal to make her actually real. And I guess my theories about her dying, or, well, the way you get the powers off her isn't going to happen now, which I think is a mistake and a shame, because there was a really clever trick you could have done there that I've brought up a lot. But yeah, I guess we're getting a nicer ending then, and the powers are probably going to stick with Penny, and Penny's probably going to join the team now is the other thing, because while she has Maiden powers, and that is big, she also got a massive downgrade, because she can't communicate with all the swords now. Like, that's totally not going to happen. She doesn't have lasers and stuff. So now she's just a squishy person who can take a lot less damage, is going to hit a lot less hard, does not have lasers, but she does still have the Maiden powers, which are nothing to mess with. So she's in a very odd spot, like, combat-wise now. I'll be very interested to see if she does any more combat. But if she dies now, she's really dead. I feel like, having her be real person, sort of a bit of a waste to me, but I'm sure a lot of people are very happy about it. And I don't hate it, there was so much potential you could have done with the setup you had, because like I've explained before, and this is the last time I'll ever get to say it, I thought they would take the powers off her by having Cinder drain her, or have her killed and pass them on to someone, and then brought back with the last piece of Pietro's soul, which he would have to die to bring her back, because he said he couldn't do it again, but usually that implies, it'll cost me everything. And then he dies, passing his soul on, and someone just has to hit the button on the restart. And she comes back one last time, and as long as you killed her without, destroying the body, then she'd be back one last time for real. And the sadness wouldn't be over losing her, it'd be over losing Pietro. Now that's not gonna happen, so Pietro is, I guess, sticking around, or he's gonna go off probably with the survivors, which is nice, I guess. Maybe Penny's here for the long run, I guess. I wasn't expecting her to be around for the long run. I thought she would also leave with the survivors and be the protector of Mantle and continue to protect them, but I guess she's sticking around because Maiden powers and Cinder's gonna want those. Unless we trick Cinder. That could happen. Thinking Penny died. Oh, no, it can't. I just realized, because of the ending, Cinder wouldn't know that Penny died. I would have liked that twist where Cinder comes in and sees the dead Penny and thinks, oh no, the powers are gone forever, but now that can't happen, which also feels like a missed opportunity, personally, but oh well. Because that would have been fun if she was on a wild goose chase for the powers, not knowing who they went to. Maybe assuming they went to someone in Team RWBY because there was evidence they were around, and thinks Penny is dead forever, so she can get away for a while with the powers, but that doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. But we'll move on. I do like this. Free to create and what's you guys again. But it actually brings up a fun thing with this character, and a fun balancing that they did with the staff is you can use it endlessly. Just pick it up and use it. Use it as much as you want, but you always lose the last thing you made, which is a nice balance for it. But it does mean that if you had it on hand and carried it around, you could do some insane stuff. Because imagine being able to stop time whenever you wanted, and being able to use that to make anything you wanted. And even if it was just for one time, you just keep doing it. You're godlike. That's insane. So while it feels like nice balancing, yeah, this one isn't limited to an amount, it's limited to one thing at a time, you could just exploit that like crazy. While they're holding that staff, they should never lose anything. Well, second your attack, stop time. Oh, there's a person about to attack me. Yeah, I want to make a giant spike right here. Unfreeze time. Oh, and they stabbed themselves on the spike. Whoops, that was bad. I want to create a giant rock floating over their head. And unfreeze time. Oh no, that's too bad. You would never lose anything. Oh, just freeze time. Hey, I want you to make this little thing for me, but I want to just take a walk with me, and walks away. Okay, you made the little thing in my hand. Oh, but to them I just vanished and changed position because they all froze time, so I just got away. So easy. That's insanely powerful. They have godlike powers right now as long as they have that staff, so it'll be very interesting how the ending's going to go if they have that thing at their disposal. I don't care how surprised you get, just immediately, boom, use it. So then we get to the evacuation plan, which is strange. It's, the first one they try is, can you make a doorways all over Atlas in front of everybody, and they all go through the door, and they all come out at one point in vacuo. And I like, yeah, we are going to vacuo next. And, yeah, he goes, yeah, sure. I just need the specs and coordinates for every single door, and an explanation for folding space and time, which I like that one, because there's so much mass on one side and not on the other, and they're all going to a single point, so how do we do that? So the explanation is you need to get them all to a single point, like a pocket, they come up with a pocket dimension, so that it's not if you put every single person in a doorway and they all came out the same place, you'd squash everybody together in a giant flesh pile, and people would be dead. So you need to get them all to a stopping point in the middle, and redisperse them again. So I'll cover the first bit. It's very interesting they bring up the weird space that is these vaults, that wherever they are, they're not on Remnant. We need a place like this. And he's like, oh, okay, you guys are really smart, but also maybe really stupid. This might not go well. And he says he needs a reference, and they go, we got one, and they bring up specs. Now, we'll talk about those specs in a second, but before that, yeah, they do bring up these places, and there's always been the question, what happens if you shove Salem in a place like this? If you have the staff, why also couldn't you open a portal directly under her, if you know her location, and drop her into a space like this, and then never use the staff? Obviously, yes, one day you'll let her out, but it does solve the Salem issue. I always thought they would avoid getting Salem near the vaults, because they don't want to answer that question, because they need Salem, and it doesn't explain why that couldn't happen. And there isn't a really good explanation unless you really start, making stuff up. But no, they've addressed, what are these vault spaces? They're pocket dimensions of some sort, so we can use one. And, okay, it's very odd. Not that that's their plan, but you're like, okay, so you have a stuff, and it can make these. So next time I come up against Salem, we're just making another one, right? Because you haven't made something you need to permanently keep that way. But here's what I'll say on tying things back together. He says I'll need a reference, like a reference to work from on how you want this to work. And I do like that they're referenced. It's the tubes that take everything up to Atlas that we used before. That network of, pneumatic tubes and tunnels. So that's a visual reference for funneling everyone into one location. So that's how they referenced how to do the doors. It's an interesting play. Like, oh yeah, he has something to work from. It makes it easier. So he has a blueprint of various pipe systems that all converge on a single point. Cool. It is very strange that he, vogues to make things. I guess he's, he's creating things with his hands and stuff, but, I get it. He's visualizing what he wants to make and moving his hands to do it, but, the fact that there's screenshots like this is very strange. I don't hate it. Like I said, I'm fine with these spirits being quirky. If anyone can be, it's them. So, yeah, again, I don't hate the choices. I like that they have a flair to how they do things, because it's hard to make... it's special. You make something, they just appear. No, he has to do, little air dance. And same thing with Jin. She doesn't just answer your question. She showed you a full movie, It's a cool... It's putting some extra thought into what could be very simple. It just makes the thing. So he just, puts his hands together in a little prayer shape and thinks about it and it happens. No, he does little hand dances. Cool, why not? So this is what he creates for them, and it's an interesting idea. All these portals everywhere and everyone funnels in, and then there's a big portal to leave. So that portal is the single point, and you're not going to mass everyone together in a human pile of just parts. You're going to funnel them, and they're going to walk through the walkways and go down to the big fancy door, which is the single point, and spill out into Vacuo. I'm assuming you just got coordinates from, Oz's head for where in Vacuo to put them, because that would make sense. So I'm fine with that bit, and I don't mind the visuals here, they're pretty cool. However, I do have an issue with this. If you're these people, do you go through that portal? You just got told Atlas is falling, so I guess maybe, but I feel like there'd just be riots and panic right now, not people standing around and, hey, magic portals opened up everywhere. I guess every single person in all of Atlas and Mantle will decide to go in them. That's a bit of a stretch for me, personally. And I know that the counter is, well, they have no other choice, but I get that, but would you be thinking like that if you just got told that Atlas is falling? And even if you did, I feel like everyone would charge into them, and we get a warning where that would be a terrible idea in a second, if everyone charged through them recklessly. Oh, and a quick little reference, the guy in the background with the woman, I'm gonna bet everything I own that that's Flint's parents, because he looks exactly like Big Flint. So, I'm glad to see he's doing alright for himself and living up in Atlas after his dust shop didn't work out, so good on him, glad he's safe. Hope his son is safe. Guess we don't know. Well, you know what they say, it's worth it all to risk the fall. Well, do not fall. Did you see the place you made, dude? It is the most dangerous looking set of walkways ever. And, they put extra bass and tone in his voice. Do not fall. We get it. Someone's gonna fall. And oh, that's right. The opening has all of these people falling into a black void through gold sparkles. That would be Team RWBY. Oh, that's gonna be fantastic. So someone's gonna fall. Great. Fun. So at least we know what that reference is to now. As to what happens when you fall? I mean, you'd assume just death, right? But that's saying, yeah. If it's a death, it's going to be one of the ones where people talk about them coming back forever, because falling into a black void, I mean, you saw how well that worked for Cinder, and that wasn't a magic black void, but even so, you know that if someone falls to their death, that it will be forever, but we didn't see them die. But I do love his exit. Okay, after that dire warning, we're done. Yeah, he knows he was being dramatic. That's funny. And of course we finish off more dire. What do we do now? We go to Vacuo and hope we thought of everything. And we of course see Cinder being the most obvious Sith Lord in the world in the crowd. Don't know where she got the cloak from, but I like it. Styling. Where is Neo? Where is Watts? Because that's what I was going to say later. When I said I don't understand about the jail cell, portals just opened up in front of every group of people. So presumably that includes Ironwood and Jacques. And if they're in a place you can get to them, they're inside the cell then. So they would have been just able to walk out. Now, Ironwood was knocked out, but how long is he going to stay knocked out? And if he does stay knocked out, he goes down with the ship. Also, good thing no one was left sleeping anywhere. I guess they're all in groups, but the idea they got everyone is laughable, so people still are going to die. But yeah, well, You know, we have that image of everyone falling, so that's going to be bad. But we also get the idea that, I guess, why would they stay in the netherworld very long? Wouldn't everyone doesn't know to walk back out the fancy portal, but they will soon. And also, yeah, obviously animation budget is restrictive, but it's meant to be thousands upon thousands of people in here, so coordinating them all to do anything is near impossible. Just getting 1,000 people to do the same thing is insanely hard. But everyone's gonna worry about them falling off. I've got a bigger worry for you if everyone's standing around in a crowd like this. Because while falling may be certain death, what happens if someone used the staff? The entire pocket dimension would vanish with everyone inside. Oh god, that would be probably worse than whatever Salem was going to do to them. Oh my god. So that doesn't happen. This episode is absolutely clipping over an hour, but we're still going to do final thoughts, so we'll do that. I just took a second to get his name. Valentine Stokes, or Valentine Stokes, excuse my pronunciation either way, is the voice of Ambrosius, and that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that character. I'm glad that with the way that staff works we could see him more, because he's cool. Again, very exploitable, though. So excellent work on him. He probably has my voice acting win for this episode. So what I think about this episode, it was messy, but it did change a lot. We've completely changed how our finale is going to go. Ironwood was not that big a problem, he just got wrecked. With a good plan, but he got wrecked. But is he going to be back? How's that gun going to come into things? Because it's so weird if they never used something like that. And then we have Neo's vanished, Watts has vanished, we have the big warning not to fall, so presumably something's going to take place in that void, space. So if that's the case, there's going to be a fight with thousands and thousands of people watching? Or is it going to be everyone else goes first and they go last and they get stopped and there's a fight? I don't know. Or is it going to be like an assassination thing where someone just gets shoved? That would be... Okay, here's how I would do the fall thing. You just have, like, this team standing around talking, and someone, like, they walk over and, like, there's people shuffling around and people moving towards the door, and suddenly some random guy just shoves one of them off the side. Just shoves them right off. And they turn around and it shatters away and it was Neo. She just murked somebody, just walked up and shoved them off the massive edge. That would be cool. Penny can fly. Ruby can save herself. Yang can possibly gauntlet fire up a bit. Weiss can save herself. Blake has her whip. Ren has his not Gatling guns, you know what I mean, the grappling hooks is the word I was trying to get to. And that's about it, I guess. Nora and Jean are really in a bad place. I guess Jean could he gravity dust into nothing and try and push himself back up a bit? I don't know. Also, they can try and save each other with these things, so Ruby could jump off and catch. That might be what happens if don't fall, and if they're falling, I think they're going to die in a second. Ruby sweeps them up and back, those kind of saves might happen like that. Lots of predictions, I guess. It's interesting we addressed the vault spaces and met our new spirit. Interesting who's going to end up with that staff, because whoever does, like I said, is godlike immediately. It really changes how our outcome is going to be. Like, what is our end game? Where is our big end battle, if there even is one? It really leaves Salem in a weird place. Like I said, I thought that the ending, like the end credit scene, is going to be Salem pulling herself back together again, and it seems like that's more likely now. And I find that to be disappointing, because I'd like to see her do more, and people say it undercuts her already, how weak she appeared. I don't think it does, especially if she comes back and terrorizes, but that seems less likely now. Although, it would be crazy if one of those portals opened up in front of Salem and she stepped into that void space too. Pretty nuts. But, yeah, it's an odd... I can't tell if I like this episode. I don't know if that's clear or not. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's really turned things, and I don't know if it's turned them for the better. We might get to Vacuo, or we will get to Vacuo this volume, probably. Maybe the last... I can see the last two episodes being a big fight, and in the end we, walk through the door, get out of there, maybe lose someone along the way, or whatever. I can see that, but it's just... Wow, this is not how I envisioned it, and not that my envisioning should be correct or anything, it's just... This is a weird turn. And I guess the only way we can see what happens is to see how it plays out. But I'm curious to see that, so that's something. We cracked an hour. I think I'll stop now. That's my thoughts. It's a good episode. I just don't know how good it is for our plot. But it's definitely different for the plot, so yeah, that's not a bad thing. It's definitely not predictable, it's definitely not boring. I just am curious how it's all gonna, level out. But I guess we'll have to wait till next week, so that's all for now. Take care of yourselves. No joke to finish off because I just don't have one. So, my name is Rigger, hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope I did alright.